Gold just realized its biggest yearly gain since 2010, and Wall Street says it's going even higher. Heading into 2025, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are both forecasting $3,000 an ounce gold and paltry returns for stocks. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Still Report, and you'll always get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting patriots. Call 888-753-1647 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Call 888-753-1647. Good morning. I'm still reporting on the coup. The Biden today issued last-minute blanket preemptive pardons for retired General Mark Milley, who President Trump has called a traitor worthy of the death penalty. Former Republican Representative Liz Cheney, who Trump said should face jail time for her role in the J6 investigations, as well as recently elected Senator Adam Schiff, and last but not least, Dr. Anthony Fauci for his role in providing false health information to millions of Americans regarding the COVID-19 outbreak. Most of America is outraged that these evildoers are getting a personal get-out-of-jail card free from the outgoing Biden, including all of Biden's remaining close family. However, there may be a brighter side to this crescendo of political treachery in Washington. Subsequent investigations, according to anonymous intelligence sources, may now be able to completely uncover the full extent of the Chinese spy network operating inside both the Pentagon and the United States Congress. And the vast majority of these traitors could face the full wrath of the newly staffed Department of Justice.
We have to presume that communications between the White House and the various recipients of these pardons was sufficient for White House aides to President Biden to secure from the recipients some assurance that this gesture of clemency from the president would not be rebuffed. It's interesting to note in the statement that President Biden released, he said, and I quote, "The issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense." Now that's very interesting because as our senior legal analyst, Judge Napolitano, was just noting, the precedent for these preemptive pardons to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, to Dr. Fauci, to the members and the staff of the January 6th Select Committee, all of those pardons are preemptive, okay? And they cover any federal crime that the recipient committed or may have committed while in office. And that's exactly how President Nixon's pardon was structured by President Ford. But it's very important to note that the personal attorney, the counsel to President Ford, who negotiated the pardon with former President Nixon in 1974, stated that it was the view of the Ford White House and the counsel to the president at that time that acceptance of President Ford's pardon by former President Nixon did constitute an admission of guilt. And in fact, if you look at the official website of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library and Museum, they state on that website that by accepting President Ford's pardon, former President Nixon acknowledged his guilt and his role in the Watergate cover-up. And in fact, the Supreme Court had ruled in Burdick v. United States in 1915 that acceptance of a federal pardon does constitute an acknowledgement of guilt. So the White House, the Biden White House, might like to pretend, as the president said in that statement, that the issuance and acceptance of these pardons should not be construed as an assertion or an admission of guilt. But the Supreme Court case law says otherwise. The aides to President Ford, who negotiated the pardon with President Nixon, say otherwise. So we will see if that's put to some sort of legal test by the incoming administration. Sean.
Hey, James, it's Mark Lauder. Do we have any indication that he's done? I mean, there's got 20 more minutes or so until the Trumps arrive for tea, but he's still got 3.5 hours in office. Do we expect any more pardons, like, say, of his family members before he hands over the reins at noon?
One has to wonder if the extraordinary displays of presidential clemency that we've seen from President Biden since he pardoned Hunter Biden making him, in fact, the largest issue of presidential clemency in American history. This had been debated for some time, whether President Biden would issue preemptive pardons to selected high-profile figures like the ones we've seen receiving this clemency today. It seemed fantastical. It seemed as though it wouldn't really happen.
Okay.
The gift was pardons, because he gave pardons to people, and he gave pardons to Fauci, he gave pardons to Milley, he gave pardons to the J6. And you say, well, wait a minute, that's not a gift to Trump. And in fact, it is a gift to Trump, because now these people, because he didn't pardon them he pardoned them just for things he did in the past, not for the future. So now when they come before Congress, or they're trying to pursue what really happened, they can't take the Fifth Amendment. They have to tell the truth, because if they don't, they can be prosecuted. So again, it's for if future crimes are not taken out of off the table. It's just what they did in the past. So now Trump has an opportunity, and the Congress has an opportunity to get to the bottom of a lot of this. And I think that's a great present for Donald Trump.
Presidential pardons provide the recipient with total protection from prosecution for their official acts, but they also strip those recipients of their Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent if they are a subsequent witness during investigations of their wrongdoings. In other words, Congress can get to the bottom of who else was involved. These pardoned people can be asked who else was involved in their conspiracy, and they must answer truthfully or face prosecution for perjury, and they cannot remain silent either, or they can immediately be imprisoned until they do decide to talk. Incoming Justice Department prosecutors are already drafting their list of questions. I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.